Welcome to Common Sense. Common Sense program is a series of shows that feature interviews with interesting people so that we can learn in a clear, concise, and direct way who these folks are, what they do, and what makes sense to them and what doesn't. I'm Rudy Breglia, and today I'll be interviewing the wise and dedicated Marty Gallagher, volunteer, coach, community leader, Avon Lake Citizen of the Year, job creator, award-winning business owner, CEO of a nationwide corporation based in Avon, and current candidate for Lorain County Commissioner. Marty, welcome to Common Sense, and thank you for your generous service to the community.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay. Well, to get us started, Marty, why don't you tell us where you were born and where you've lived, that kind of background information.
Well, I was born in Cleveland, but grew up in North Olmsted and moved to Avon Lake in 2020, and 2000.
Okay.
And have been here for approximately 24 years.
Okay, well, before we get started on professional kinds of things, tell us about growing up in a large family.
Well, it was very, very rewarding at times. It was very, very tough at times. Financially, your parents wouldn't have a lot of money with 13 kids because there's a lot of expenses involved.
Oh my God.
So as a kid, we had to fend for ourselves.
Okay. Where did you develop your strong sense of dedication to community life and giving back?
As a kid, my parents always made us, and eventually at first it was made us, then eventually we enjoyed and embraced it, but we would do community events, volunteering. I'll remember the one time when I was, from about 15 years on, I was in Key Club, and we did Thanksgiving dinner at a community center, and it was very rewarding. Going to homeless shelters and helping cook and clean up.
Wow.
Those type things were rewarding, and that's what inspired me to continue to do it.
Did you have a role model? That you talked about your parents.
Yeah, my dad and mom were very much, but in school I had John Clancy was an administrator at the school, and
Okay.
he kind of took me under his wing, and then that was with Kiwanis, or not Kiwanis, Key Club. It was Key
Okay.
Club. And so in relationship to Kiwanis, we worked hand in hand, so we did pumpkin sales and all kinds of stuff for the community.
Okay, wonderful. Tell us about what volunteer activities you find to be the most interesting and challenging.
I would say the most that I've had was Avon Lake Athletic Boosters. Starting that organization from when I started was approximately 7, maybe 8 years ago, and with a $20,000 budget and bringing it up to what it is today, and it's about $1 million
Wow.
annually. And that was challenging, and the challenges now is it's a full-blown business, and you have to transition over to a new president, which I believe is a great new president. She's going to do a wonderful job. I'm very confident she's going to do it. And
Her name?
Melissa Head.
Okay.
Yeah, she's good.
Okay. What surprised you about coaching special needs kids?
When I first got, I was given a roster of all the kids, and I noticed there was 3 special needs kids on my team at soccer. It was a youth soccer program in Avon Lake. I was confused. I was like, well, this is going to be very difficult. And I went to the administration in the city, and I said, hey, what do I do? I don't know how to handle it. And the greatest answer I got ever, and I'll never forget it, ask the parents. And you know what?
Okay.
It was the most rewarding thing I ever did in coaching in my life, was when I was coaching them. And just last week, I was at an event at the high school.
Okay.
And I was walking around, and one of the kids I coached as a very young kid rode by on a bicycle and said, "Hi, Coach." And it totally
Wow.
made my day.
Wow.
That was last week.
Well, that's special.
Yeah.
Tell us about managing the Avon Lake Beer Festival. I know it just took place fairly recently.
Yeah, it's that was an accumulation of years of trial and error. It's dialing in. The biggest thing is we get about 300 volunteers for that event every
Wow.
year, and it goes. The profits go back to the Parks and Rec Department as well as the Avon Lake High School Boosters. Well, it's Avon Lake High School Boosters Inc., but it's both middle school, high school, and could potentially be part of the Parks and Recs sports programs. So it's putting all that together with the volunteers, coordinating that, organizing vendors, working with the city, the police, the fire, restaurants. There's a team of people there that are managing it, and year 6 for us of doing it, 6 years of it. I think we've got it pretty dialed in right now. It's doing a real good job.
I know it's a big event in Avon Lake.
There's about 2,000 people there,
Wow.
I believe, this time.
Tell us about the steps you've taken in your career.
Well, I've been at my job for about 42 years, which
Wow.
it's I'm an operations person, so I manage the staff and I manage departments. The thing is that now is my time to start to wind down my career and do something bigger for the community.
Okay.
And that's my next step.
Okay. Well, what drew you to a business career?
It kind of fell in my lap. Well, first of all, growing up without any money as a kid, I was getting hand-me-down clothes, and I wanted to dress nicer. And in middle school,
Big motivation.
I bought candy, and I sold it for more money than I paid for it. So when I turned 18, I went to work for a company while going to college, and I became a management in that company and left in 5 years later after I was going through my college programs. And I started my own business after that.
Okay. What's the most challenging aspect of running a company?
Employees, it's challenging.
Okay.
You're dealing with the talent of your employees, and it's more so today than ever before. The last 10 years has been very difficult with getting skilled labor. I don't know what happened to them all, but we used to have applicants come in and we'd have 25 to 50 applicants per job position. Sometimes we only get one or none. So it's very difficult getting staff to work. It's changing times, and that's the hardest part of the business. And frankly, that does hinder growth in a lot of companies out there. I have all the business I can handle right now, and I could take on more, but I just don't have the staff.
Understand. What advice would you give someone who aspires to be a business owner?
Never give up.
Okay.
You never give up, and you always have to work hard. You have to be there when other people don't want to be there. Sometimes you have to work holidays. Sometimes you have to work evenings. Sometimes you have to go out of town. You have to take a position as somebody else in the event that you have multiple employees. But there's risks and rewards. There's ups and there's downs. I've had it all. Large company to a smaller company, or downsizing, and it's rewarding to know that right now there are 40 families that are being fed, through my company, and they've got a career.
That's wonderful. How did you reach your decision to run for Lorain County Commissioner?
Well, in my industry, I was a legislative chairperson. I was a federal legislative chairperson, and I was a state co-chairperson. So I attended a lot of legislative hearings throughout the country.
You got a taste for it.
I got a taste for it. And when I was a kid, my grandfather was in politics, my uncles were, and so we passed out literature for them, and it inspired me to, give back some of the talent I've learned to the community. And my experience I think is going to help.
Okay. What characteristics should voters be looking for in a commissioner?
Being able to manage budgets. The commissioner is a budget authority of the county. It handles $85 million, where the commissioners are totally responsible for where that money goes. And basically, being able to budget, manage staff, keep public interest into projects, do things that make the community better, and watch out for the money. Make sure it's being spent wisely.
Okay, so having experience in the private company is really important.
It's very important, but it's very different. I've learned that fairly quick. In a private business, it's quick. You make your decision, you move on. You make a mistake sometimes you don't. But in a commissioner's role, there's different layers that you have to comply with, you have to follow, and there's different procedures that sometimes makes it take longer.
Okay.
And I've seen that.
So what is the best preparation for holding public office?
I would say you have to be dedicated to it. You have to get out and put yourself out there, which I'm a little bit more private. I like to be a little more private than telling about myself and saying my accolades. That's very difficult. But the real bonus is meeting all the people. That's what I've lacked being behind a desk for all those years. Now it's like I'm out in public and it's something I want to do.
Helping people.
Helping people be part of a bigger picture.
Okay. What are the primary responsibilities of a commissioner?
It's the budget authority of a bunch of social programs, a bunch of government agencies, like for example, making sure that the sheriff department's using, they've got their budget in order and you approve a budget for them. Children's services, there's land bank, there's so many different areas, some of the roads and bridges out there, main infrastructure. The role is basically almost like being a city manager.
Okay. How are commissioners assigned to committees?
Well, it's based on communicating with them. Like I've told them where my strengths are.
Okay.
And like right now, I've been appointed to a couple of boards that they put me on the committees that I'm stronger in, so that I can bring back and be more up to speed and be able to, when I get into office, I would be able to start that day and be able to see what's going on and be involved.
Hit the ground running.
Hit the ground running.
What committees do you want to be on?
I like dealing with blighted properties.
Okay.
So so anything with brownfield. I like transportation, so public transportation, that is. I'd like to see that we improve that in this county. That's a committee I'd really like to be on. I like aging, the seniors. I like programs for that, making sure that they're taken care of. Appreciate that. Yeah, it's a very important thing. As baby boomers are getting old, and I'm in the younger part of baby boomers, so making sure that there's stuff there, but really making the community better. Bringing businesses in here. That's my strength. That economic development is a huge one for me. That's probably the strongest for me. But those other ones are want lists. Tell us about the Economic Impact Award you received from the city of Cleveland. Well, I bought one of the worst conditioned buildings on the street in downtown Cleveland, and it was condemned. Okay. And I got building permits. It was the first project I ever did. Okay. And it took me a couple years to get the project done, loans, leveraging, everything. It was very difficult. But what happened was I took the worst building down the street, and just after I acquired it, the city wrecking ball came to tear it down. And then what happened was I had to explain to them that I bought this property and I'm going to fix it up. We fixed it up, and it became the nicest building on the street. Wow. And they wanted to reward me with it, saying, look, you you economically invested in our community, and it was the only one awarded that year, which was, I felt very honored to get it. I didn't have any anticipation of it, wasn't seeking it. Okay, so it was really, really rewarding to get it. Once elected, what will you do to stimulate business development in Lorain County? Make it business friendly. I understand what businesses need. Sometimes it's buildings. Sometimes, in some cases it could be they need utilities, water. They might need high electricity. They need support from the city, the planning commissions, and being able to get them in here seamlessly, quickly, and without red tape. That's one of them, and the need, obviously, the need for it,
Okay.
the need for their business.
What is the Lorain County Port Authority, and tell us about your activities on the board?
The Lorraine County Port Authority is an economic development arm. It's really an agency that technically is for profit, but the profits go back to community
Okay.
development as far as economic development, as far as businesses, and it's really to improve it. Like, for example, Midway Mall was a project I took on, and I did a project that was not quite as big, but a big project like that. And we rehabbed the property. That property needs rehabbed. And, I looked at what the costs were involved in it. And me having a similar property that I did it with, the same thing, it was a home run for the county because it was a blighted property. There were multiple owners. They didn't like each other. One of the property owners was using it for a write-off, so he had no intention of doing anything with it other than let
Okay.
it deteriorate. So that's a big project. I have 3 big ones that I really have focus on.
So being a real estate developer, in your experience, helped you a lot.
Yeah, and I help find, through the process with the board, we helped find, a candidate to buy it, and fairly quick. Although it takes time. Normally it'd be, like I said, I like things a lot faster. It'd be quick, with 30 days it's going.
Yeah.
But because there's red tape, agencies, different agencies, and there's some brownfield cleanup in it, and so those are hurdles you have to go over. But we're getting close.
Okay. And you've said brownfields. Some folks might not understand what brownfields means.
Well, environmental hazards, asbestos, there'd be oil, some chemicals.
In the ground.
In the ground, and walls, ceilings, floors, even property, something out there that would be contaminating. The brownfield there is asbestos, which is, one of the, I wouldn't say easier, but it's kind of the staple cleanup that's done.
Okay. What will be the profit from the sale and of the Midway Mall, and how many jobs will be created? Do you have that kind of information?
Yeah, the property is going to probably make a little over $3 million on it.
Wow.
Which will go back into another project, which I have a couple I want to do.
Okay.
And the mall itself, there's a company called ICP that's the candidate right now, and they'll create between 500 and 800 jobs.
Wow.
And they're not low-paying jobs; they're middle-level jobs and management jobs.
Okay. What is the commercial industrial properties plan, and how are you involved?
Well, when they came to us, we had a couple of projects approached to us. I looked at the main things. I looked at finances. I looked at time span. I looked at, is it feasible? I looked at the business plan. I went to their properties. I went to a couple of their properties to see what they did, to make sure that they are a viable candidate. And they've got 7 or 8 other properties they've done this with. They convert it to almost like middle-sized small businesses where they are almost like a mini corporate headquarters, or maybe something that's brought in the United States from a foreign company that might be there, or out of state company putting an office here. A little bit of robotics for like assembly. Nothing, no smoke, none of that stuff.
Okay.
But that's what we approached on it, or we saw what they did. They did a fabulous job, and I went through their properties. I scrutinized them. I looked at how nice they were laid out. They dump a lot of money into it. They're going to fix the facade up. They estimated $20 million to fix the outside of the mall up.
Okay.
And they'll cut it up into pieces. Probably, my guess is probably, 20 or 30 businesses in there.
Wow.
Yeah.
What is the Northeast Ohio Area-Wide Coordinating Agency? That's the NOACA, NOACA. Am I pronouncing
That's
that
correct.
right? What is that organization?
Well, 2 of the commissioners appointed me to the NOACA board. The first part was I'm an alternate to one of the commissioners. for the economic development arm. So I'm going to listen to all the programs that the federal government's putting in place to try and attract business to the area. So it's a steering committee. So we're going to steer them on what we need to do to bring businesses in. That's number one. It's a federal agency. It's funded by the federal government, and there's multiple counties involved, and there's a pocket of money every year that's given. There's, for example, there's a brownfield cleanup fund, and they do a low interest or a no interest loan, and in some cases might be forgivable, but they have a steering committee for that. I'm on that committee. And I've inserted myself on the transportation committee for the rail and the, they're looking at, they're doing a study right now to see what transportation needs are for the county. So I give my input based on what I see in Lorain County so that they can see, they're sitting behind a desk, and I want to make sure that we're covered, and we're going to get some, like, for example, the train stops and all that for the commuters.
Mm-hmm. Now, you talked about transportation. There's a high-speed rail, a new Elyria train station, and a Lorain County Transportation Center. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about those projects? And I know the brownfields you already mentioned.
Yeah, I really like this project. First of all, NOAC is looking at commuter trains. There's already a high-speed train going through here. And just recently, I don't know how long ago, but it's fairly recent, they remodeled the Elyria train station.
Okay.
And they're looking for stops on a commuter system that's going to go to, eventually they'll connect it. It'll go from Michigan all the way to Pennsylvania, down to Cincinnati and Columbus. So they're doing a study right now, and they have the northern corridor, which would be the first one to start. And basically, they're looking at commuters. So my objective is make sure we have enough stops in Lorain County for the commuter part of it. Yeah. The high speed is already there. And then they're talking about another one called the Hyperloop, which is supposed to come out in 2030. They're supposed to start something in the United States. They're already testing it overseas. Okay. Very high speed. But my goal is also to tie in RTA into the rail stations, like Park and Ride. And another facet of that is, there's grants out there that are for electric cars, and the new cars coming out are dual fuel. They're electric and they're fuel, and there's a lot of commercial ones, and they've got stations that are fast charging that they're putting in. Lorain County is very low, has very low representation, although there's not a lot of electric cars here in comparison, but it's something coming down the road. So if I tie that in, like, for example, the RTA has a bus route that picks up about every 2 hours. So if you miss that bus 5 seconds, you got to wait 2 more hours. Yeah. The microtransit is a great program. The commissioners were working on that, and I gave input on it. And so I gave comment on the whistle stop. You get the microtransit to work with RTA to connect it to the rail stations. And Elyria would be one of the stations that would, for like the high speed, you'd get in that station and you go to probably one in Cleveland. It's probably going to be in Cleveland, and that one will disperse to the other high speed stops. Because putting high speed stops all the way along the route is going to slow down the speed of the train. So it's those type of things, being involved in all processes. So NOAC is not involved in the microtransit. That's the county. So you connect the county to the federal government, to the local municipality. That it's a big project, and I want to help make sure that people that need to get public transportation can get on it and possibly go to work for companies like mine and take a train.
There you go, make it easier.
Yeah, make it easier to get employees.
What do you think about the Lorain County Joint Vocational School and their co-op programs and their approach to education and training?
I love it.
Okay.
It is an excellent program. I was actually, I contacted Junior Achievement. They have a program down in Atlanta, Georgia. I contacted them. What they do is they created this hub where industry would come in and set up a mock usage of their industry. and it was a junior achievement. So they'd bus these kids in from all over the state of Georgia. That's where this place was. They'd bus them in, show them how things work: restaurants, airlines, doctors' offices, accounting, and they'd bring these kids in for like a field trip.
Okay.
And
Sounds
I
great.
contacted them to see if we could do something here in Lorain County, but that would be a feeder system to the joint vocational school to give them the true education, because many times the kids they don't know what they want to do. I didn't know what
Yeah.
I wanted to do in high
Yeah,
school.
yeah.
And if they got that little sampling of it, they take it to their high school. And then LC is another feeder. It's a feeder system from the joint vocational schools. They are doing a fabulous job in creating programs for industry-specific careers. Like they have electrical engineering, which is basically teaching you how to be an electrician.
Yeah.
And they have plumbing and HVAC. They are expanding their horizon because, let's face it, college is different than it was when I went. You had to have a college degree. Now it's more. We need more trades. We need more vocational. We need, that type of skill. So that program. I'm a big advocate, and I speak loudly of it because I love it, and I think that investing in those joint vocational schools is a big, huge bonus for the community.
Yeah, I agree. What needs to be done with the old Avon Lake electric generating facility?
I love the project. So one of my three, I told you one of them,
Okay.
Mall. The other one's the power plant. They've come to the Port Authority for some help if they can get it, the Lorain County Port Authority. I'm a supporter of the project. I believe, and this is their proposal as well. I love their proposal. The lakefront, 20 to 22 acres roughly, will be park setting. The south part of that park setting will be commercial land, and that not commercial, it'll be land designated for development.
Okay.
Which there's talks of putting 7-story buildings up there with apartments, which there's a need for it in the area. And at the bottom of the apartment building would be restaurants or shops, retail, whatever to develop that property. So the south side of it, and then possibly a joint venture with the metro parks. So if I become commissioner, that'll be one of my very big pushes, is to help that process go through. Now the developers would be something a little different, but the metro parks and making that park all one bit, or making Miller Road Park all one big huge park that's multifaceted.
That would be wonderful
Yeah.
for Avon Lake.
Yep.
And for all of Lorain County. What's the first action you will take once elected?
I will go to the different boards that are out there. Like I'm on the Port Authority board. I would have to resign, by the way, and I love that board. I do.
All right.
I'd have to resign from that board. NOACA, I would be an automatic member instead of alternate. But I would look at the committees. First of all, I'd take my strong committees and say, look, this is where I need to be. But then I would go through the other committees and other projects and learn about them and see which ones spark interest, more interest for me. Like my daughter works for Children's Services. I got a soft spot for Children's Services.
Okay.
So that's
Me too.
Yeah, it's I think of my growing up. Not that we needed Children's Services, because we didn't, but people that weren't as fortunate as me that need it, and those are that's dear to my heart. That one there. So I'll look into that, and hopefully I can be instrumental in helping that program.
Okay. How are you funding your campaign?
Well, I feel guilty holding my hand out asking people for money. So I put a lot of my own in it. Probably 50 to 60% of my campaign is self-funded. Mm-hmm. And then there's, I've had some, great people that are like-minded with me, that I've been involved with friendships, and they've come forward. I do have fundraisers, not as much as some of the others, because I want to meet and greet more than I want to fundraise. So yes, there's a little bit of both. And the party's given money towards my campaign as well, the county party.
Understand. What can Lorain County residents do to help your campaign? Are volunteers needed?
There's always volunteers needed.
Okay.
Sign placement. You know what? When you sit down and you go to a resident in the town and they bring 5 or 10 of their neighbors over and they want to learn about you, I love that stuff. That's, getting to know the people and seeing what their needs are out there, what their wish list is, those type things. So that's a rewarding part of it, if I could get that. And then obviously if they donate and they have the means to do it, that's appreciated.
Okay. How can you be contacted? Do you have an email address that you use?
Yes, it's martygallagherohio@gmail.com.
Okay, and that'll appear on the bottom of the screen so that people can see it. What's your website address?
It's elect Marty Gallagher, electmartygallagher.com. And
Okay.
Marty, there's also there's 3 websites, but electmartygallagher.com is the main one.
Okay, and hopefully that'll be at the
Yeah.
bottom as well.
If you Google search it, you'll find them all.
Okay, all right.
There's a lot of action on them.
In summary, I ask this question of all my interviewees. What is making sense to you and what doesn't?
What makes sense to me is you've got to give back. That's number
Okay.
one. You have to give back to the community. You got to do something bigger than yourself. What doesn't make sense to me is criticism without action. That's a big one.
Okay, understand.
If you've got a problem with it, help fix it.
All of Lorain County should be grateful that someone of your ability and experience and knowledge and dedication and caring is willing to lead us in the right direction. Thank you, Marty.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it, and I'm here to serve.
Okay. Well, and thank you for watching. Please let us know if you have any questions or comments, or if you know someone who's interesting, including yourself. Please send us that contact information, and we'll handle it from here. And again, thank you, and remember, seatbelts save lives.
The preceding program was presented to you by a community producer. The statements, views, and opinions expressed were not necessarily those of ALC TV or the City of Avon Lake.